Rachel. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
All right, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are signaling that this week's impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump could take just a few weeks in the Senate and be over possibly by the end of the week, like Friday. And joining us now for more on this is Georgia Congressman Jody Hice. Congressman, good to see you again. Thanks for being with us bright and early on this Monday. We keep hearing that this trial is going to be speedy. That was the buzzword over the weekend. My question, why do you think that is? And don't you think that the possible impeachment of a former president should be as thorough as possible?
Well, yeah, it certainly should, and especially if it's an authentic impeachment. This is yet round two of another hoax impeachment where there's nothing there. The first go around, we saw nothing but the hoax Russia collusion nonsense, which has been totally debunked. And now we are going after an impeachment of a president who's no longer even a sitting president. It's absolutely insanity. But what makes this even worse, the Democrats are masters at accusing others of the very thing that they themselves are guilty of. And we have literally months and months and months of fiery, insightful rhetoric from multiple Democrats.
Right.
And now they are accusing the president of inciting a riot on January 6th, where they themselves have been sitting back, throwing gas on the fire of riots for months taking place across our country, and even as recent as this past weekend in St. Louis. And so, you know, all their rhetoric is about to come back on their own head.
And Washington as well. But you make a good point. This is all about the criminalization of speech and the First Amendment. And my thought is that's fine if you're going to start doing that, but you've got to make sure you do it on both sides of the aisle. I want to play you a soundbite that we played before, but this is New Jersey Senator Cory Booker inciting what sounds like violence to me. Take a listen.
Please don't just come here today and then go home. Go to the Hill today. Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
So, you know, that came and went. Nobody said anything about it. You see a lot of language like that at rallies and at events. It's very common in the political world because the point is to fire up the people that are there. But nothing happened then. And you could say that nothing should be happening now with what the president did.
Well, sure. I mean, and you even go back to Bernie Sanders when the baseball game where Steve Scalise was literally shot and almost killed. Mm-hmm. That shooter actually said that he was inspired by the comments of Bernie Sanders. Nothing was said about that. And so, listen, there's no doubt that the rhetoric needs to calm down across the aisle. I get that. But to accuse someone of inciting a riot because they're encouraging their people to get involved is I mean, what candidate has not made comments along those lines? But we are crossing the lines these days. When you have those examples like you just shared, you have Maxine Waters telling people to assault members of the president's cabinet. You have the Speaker of the House now calling members of Congress enemies of the state and people who voted for President Trump as domestic enemies. I mean, this type of rhetoric is absolutely crossing the line and must be stopped.
Do you think this is more about 2024 and going through the process of trying to impeach the president, him being acquitted, and then there being a separate vote on his viability to be a candidate in 2024?
Well, sure. The Democrats do not want President Trump ever coming back, and yet he has redefined the Republican Party in so many ways. I mean, his policies have turned our country around, and people all across America love him and respect him, and he has stood up to the fake media. He has stood up to individuals and groups that have for so long been harming our country, and they want to get rid of that. Yeah. And they want to get rid of people who hold to that type of political philosophy as well. You know,
Congressman, I think a lot of people just want to see the president. Joe Biden's been in office now for 19 days. We haven't heard a lot from President Trump as he gets ready for this this drive-by impeachment trial, which will start tomorrow at 1 p.m. Are you surprised that President Biden hasn't stepped in and talked to Democratic leadership and said, all right, listen, you've proved your point, but the point of my administration was to unite America. My inaugural theme was America United. Why hasn't he stepped in to try to put an end to this?
Because he's not a leader. He is being led. This is a total scenario in the Democratic Party of the tail wagging the dog. You have radical left-wing individuals in the Democratic Party who have become the spokesmen of the party, and Joe Biden is just going right along with it. He's not the leader of the party, as Trump was the leader of the Republican Party, and will probably continue to be so. Biden talks about unity, but all of his executive orders to this point have been killing jobs and opening our border and allowing criminals into our country. And I mean, he has been doing everything but uniting this country, and that is largely due to the radical voice in the Democratic Party that's leading the charge, and he's just holding on by the coattails by others who are leading the party.
Have you had any conversations with Marjorie Taylor Greene with regard to her being removed from her committee assignments last week?
Oh, yes. Yes, I've had many conversations with Marjorie, and she's standing firm. And listen, this is another example of Democrats taking an unprecedented step to remove individuals from committees for words that were spoken years ago, even before she was a candidate. And she has apologized for those words. She has disavowed them. She has done an outstanding job coming before both Congress and the American people and our Republican conference about these issues. And yet again, the Democrats want to silence, they want to cancel anyone who disagrees with their radical, toxic agenda. And this is set a dangerous precedent.
I agree with you. Do you think that Democrats could come to regret this move once the Republicans have the majority in the House, whenever that is, maybe 2022, maybe 2024, but at some point?
Yes, absolutely. They will regret it then, but I believe they're going to regret it even before then, because they continue pressing buttons that aggravate the American people and the citizens. And you cannot take liberty away from free people without there being a problem involved in that. And the Democrats continue pressing buttons. They will regret at the voting box, and hopefully that's all. But you just can't keep taking freedoms away from freedom-loving people without there being some repercussions.
Is Kevin McCarthy still in control of Republicans in the House? There were last week we had reports of maybe some dueling factions there in the House. Is he still in control there?
Yeah, Kevin is. Of course, the main issues have been revolving around Liz Cheney, and that's been the issue. I think Kevin did a great job trying to work us through that particular issue. But Kevin, I think so far is doing a good job and has the vast majority of people supporting him.
Yeah, Congressman, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it on this Monday. I think we all just wish that each party would police their own ranks and not do what we just saw done last week. It sets a very dangerous precedent, I think, for the future. Congressman, thanks so much for your time. Good to see you as always, sir.